Welcome back to me. Thank you guys for tuning in the Banner Bros channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing another one in the How to Dominate series. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Arklov Peak Military Base. I'm going to be showing you all of the locations inside Military Base, everything from the strategies on how you want to dominate this place, everything from each location in here and what each location has to offer. All right, I'm going to be talking about what place has the most loot, what place has the best cover, what place has the best visibility for everybody. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this kind of videos. If you do, please like and subscribe and turn that notification bell on. It deeply helps me out a lot. And without further ado, let's jump right into this video. So starting off, as you guys can see here in the map, we got all the locations that portray Military Base. All right, we're going to be going each and over every one of them. Again, not all of these locations are going to take a long time, but I'm going to be going over really important aspects of this thing. The most important ones we're going to be going is landmark, which is how easily is this distinguished as a landmark. So for example, is this place a hidden shed that nobody knows, or is this place kind of like the airport control tower that everybody knows? Next up, we're going to be talking about seclusion, which is how easily spotted is this place compared to everything else, how accessible this place, how much verticality that this place has to offer, which means can you get high up in the ground and you can snipe some people, and cover, and obviously most importantly the loot. So we're going to be going all those things over all these locations that you guys see in the map. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and let's jump into the first one, number 33. So going into the first one, number 33, it's going to be Airfield Northwest Entrance Military Base. All right, this is one of the three main entrances into and out of the Arklov Peak Military Base. All right, there is a small watchtower here which has a little bit of defense. If you get on top of here, you can definitely get a couple kills once landing at the beginning. We're not going to be talking about this strategy as of right now, but I do want to mention this location is a pretty good location. If you see that, if you're going to Military Base and it is definitely full of people, you can definitely head to this location, as it does have a little hut beside it where you can get a couple guns and maybe a chest. Although you cannot land here with your squad and fully equip yourself, but you can definitely grab a gun, get on top of that watchtower, and start scouting out Military Base. Let's go into the next one, number 34. Airfield North Entrance Military Base. All right, let's talk about this one. This is the second of the three main entry points of Arklov Peak. This location is a little bit more exposed than the one we just covered. As you guys can see, the seclusion is not that much, which means that people are going to be able to see this location pretty easy. Loot is a bare minimum, just like the other one. There is almost no loot, almost no cover, and there is little to no verticality. Again, this is one of those locations where you just have to land if you're in a code red and you've got nowhere else to go. You land on this one, get yourself inside the hut, get yourself in the gun, and get yourself out of there. Next up, let's go into number 35. So it's going to be the first hangar 11. All right, the landmark, this has a lot in the landmark area, which means this is a pretty recognizable area. This is one of the first bunkers, which is in the southeast section. This one has a large open hangar. Note again, all these hangars do have numbers displayed on the outside, so you can communicate to your partners on which hangar you are specifically at. The loot is going to be medium, and there's not going to be that much cover in this location as well. The seclusion is kind of high, a little bit higher than the other ones, since it is far away from everything else in Military Base. Let's go into the next one, number 36. This one is going to be Hangar 12. Again, remember, distinguished by the big 12 on the outside. This landmark is going to be pretty noticeable as well. Most of the hangars, as you guys can see, will have a high landmark, which means again that it is a very recognized location. The seclusion and accessibility is pretty high though, because all of these bunkers only have two entrances. One, which is the big main entrance at the front, and they also have a little small metal door at the back. So if you got a squad, this location is pretty easy to camp, especially if you are trying to survive a most wanted or anything like that. It is pretty easy to get into these hangars and get yourself covered and secured. The loot again is not that great, but if you were landing in Military Base and you see it's full of people, landing in one of these hangars is never a bad choice, as you can find probably around 2 to 4 chests inside of the hangars. Next up, let's go into number 37. We got Hangar 13 in this one. Again, this one is almost the same as the other ones, but as you guys noticed, the cover did go up significantly. Most of these hangars are the same, but on the inside, they do offer quite a bit of different things. Number 13 is the number 37 is going to be the furthest one out. It's going to be on the center, northeast, northwest of the map. So on this hangar, you can actually find the most cover. So if you're going to drop in one of the hangars and you want to get yourself some loot, I would recommend the first one that we visited, hangar 11 or number 13, just because of the substantial amount of cover that this hangar does have to offer. Let's go into the next one, number 38. So now we're going to be taking a look at a little bit of the middle of military base, which is going to be the control tower in taxiway. This does have a special ammo cache in the bottom floor of this location. So this little small tower, if you go in and at the bottom, you will find an ammo box, which does not give you full amount of ammo. But if you are running low on loot and military base is full and you can't really loot a lot of locations, it's always good to go to this location and get yourself packed up in a little bit more ammo. The top of this building does offer quite a bit of coverage. As you guys can see there, the loot and cover is pretty good just for a small location like this. If you land in this building, you can definitely get yourself quite a bit of guns and get one person on that tower. Although you will be fairly exposed, that's why the seclusion is really low in this one. That means it is really easy to see this location. But if you do get in that location, you can get yourself a bunch of kills up there, but you can also get yourself killed. Let's go into the next one, number 39. So we got the runways 1 and 2. As you guys can see, the size and the landmark are going to be maxed out on this one. This means that this is going to be the biggest part of military base, but also the most known part of military base as well. Accessibility is at its max because there's nothing preventing you from getting into the runways. Loot is fairly high, it says around here, but you won't actually find any weapons lying around here, only on the surrounding things. The interior is none, and verticality is almost 0 as well. There are some inactive missile carriers parked around the vicinity and 5 main hangars surrounding the area. So this is where you can land, and maybe from here you can decide what place to go to. There are filled with tetrapod barriers, which are the white things that you guys see there, which are meant to prevent takeoffs and landing. So it may be a little bit hard if you do have a vehicle to run around this location. But it is always really good to land around this location also, because in the runways is where you may find a shop as well. So just also do note, it is also a pretty good location to mark your drop in here, because those tetrapods actually do a pretty good job at providing you some cover. Next up, let's go into the number 40. So we got hangar 21, which is going to be on the left side of military base. All right. Again, be always to make sure that you are taking a look at the big giant number on the outside. This one is adjacent to the taxiway and runway number 2. And this one, again, has some pretty impressive defenses on the front of the hangar. Compared to the other ones, this one does have a little bit more cover at the outside of the area. But again, loot is going to be the same throughout all these hangars. There's not a specific hangar that offers more loot than the other one, but just do be aware that these hangars, number 21, will have on the right hand side, it'll have like an adjacent little room where you can go in there and maybe find yourself an extra chest. Let's jump into the next one, number 41. So for this one, we got hangar 22. Again, the landmark on this one is going to be pretty high, as a lot of people do know these locations. Again, just like the other bunkers on the other side, they're going to have a big opening on the front, and then they're going to have a small back door to a small metal back door. This location, again, is a little bit further away from the main buildings of military base, and from here, you can get yourself out into the woods. Let's jump into the next location, number 42. So here's where things start to get a little bit interesting. We got Comms Tower A. Now, this is one of the more interesting locations where verticality, as you guys can see, is at maximum, the vista as well, but the landmark is almost at maximum. What does this mean? This means that this location is pretty recognizable about a bunch of people, but if you do manage to get your hands on one of these towers with a good weapon, you can definitely get a bunch of kills from here. Never underestimate this tower. I feel this tower is so known that just sometimes people overlook at it and they're like, I'm not going to go in that tower because everybody can see me. But if you do manage to get yourself up there and you know how to play this location right, you can definitely get a bunch of kills from this location. And I have done it quite a bit of times, so just never underestimate this tower. Also, it is not a bad place to land on these towers, as at the bottom, I swear to God, every single time there is always a chest at the bottom of the tower. And then if you do climb up, you can find yourself about 1 or 2 guns on this location. Again, this tower offers a lot of potential in return, but just do be aware that once you start shooting, hell will let loose on you. Let's go into the next one, number 43. So we got Comms Tower B and these storage huts. This one does have it's the same kind of tower as the one we just looked, but it is set to the ground, so it is not as elevated as Tower A. Although it does have the vertical benefits that the other one is providing. This one does enable you to see 360 degrees and across the airfield. So if you climb one or both of the ladders within the structure, you will be able to have yourself a lot of visibility and you will be able to ping a lot of enemies for your team. Also, do be aware this one does have a little bit of huts on the bottom, so if you do land in this location, this one I would consider is one of the most hot drop locations. As you guys can see, the loot did went up a little bit on this one, especially because we got the loot from the tower and the loot from the houses. So I would say this location specifically, because it's sort of like the first part of what you see from military base. Usually when you're coming down from the airplane, this is one of going to be the locations that a lot of people are going to be dropping at. So if you want a hot drop on this location, but if you want a safe drop, definitely do not drop in this one. Let's go to the next one, number 44. Now we got the barracks in military base. This one, you guys can see, does offer quite a bit of cover and quite a bit of loot, although not as much verticality as the towers we just covered. This one does not have that much seclusion, meaning that it is not that easy to see into this location because you can get yourself covered with a lot of the tents. I feel that this location is one of the better locations to land, as most of the tents do have a gun. You will not find yourself packed with loot here, but you will definitely find yourself a gun that you can grab and you can get yourself right into the fight. This is a pretty good location to land when you, honestly, just in general, even if there's no contract in this area, because you can go ahead, grab a gun, and start into the fight. This is also a pretty good area if you are getting shot from a bunch of locations and you need to escape. I would say the barracks is probably one of the best places to get lost, because you can kind of go like in the middle of a loot of a barrack, then go out, then go in, then go out. This is just one of the better places where you can run out, especially with all the walls surrounding it. You can definitely get away if enemies are shooting at you. Let's go into the next one, number 45. So we got the training course here, which is actually one of my favorite locations to land in military base. This is probably my go-to location when we're not trying to save drop or hot drop. This is kind of like in the middle. You can get quite a few people landing here, but you won't get as many as the previous locations. But it won't also be so far away that you will not find anything in here. As you guys can see, it does offer a substantial amount of cover, as you guys can get on top onto a lot of locations. As you guys can see, we do have a little bit of a tower there on the left-hand side, which will allow you to get a little bit of visibility onto the other sides of the map. This location definitely does have quite a bit of loot compared to all the other hangars and all that kind of locations. So definitely, if you land with your squad here, it is definitely a good rally up point where you can land in here, get yourself some weapons, and get ready for the fight. Again, this is probably my go-to location in military base. Next up, number 46. So we got the main warehouse in military bases. You guys can see the size is pretty big. The accessibility is pretty high, which because this location only has 3 entrances and the loot is pretty high. This is one of those big warehouses that you see throughout Warzone, and it is really, really good for loot. Honestly, I'm impressed by the amount of loot that this warehouse has. Never underestimate it. If you see a bunch of people dropping on every other direction, honestly, you can definitely go ahead and get yourself a lot of loot in this warehouse. I would say you can probably find between 4 to 6 chests in this one big warehouse, which is pretty good. What I recommend you, if you are going to be pushing to these warehouses, is try and go to the corners as soon as you go into this location, because you might find a little bit of cover. As you guys can see, the cover is actually fairly high in the warehouse, because there is kind of like cover locations on each corner of the warehouse, which will allow you to get a drop, which will allow you to get loot and get yourself a little bit of cover. Next up, let's go into number 47. So here we have storage yard. This is one of the main places in military base as well, mostly because this is one of the times where the shop is usually located in this position. This is the southern part of military base that has a little house and a large opening pad of containers, crates, and parked missile batteries, as well as a stacked wall section. Again, this is kind of like a tiny place that has good maneuver capabilities and does offer fairly amount of loot, but not that much as the other locations. You guys can see the loot is fairly low in this location. You can find some guns, but nothing over the top that you will be very excited. But as you guys can see, cover is at its maximum. Next up, let's go into the final one, number 48. Now, this is the final location, number 48. This is definitely one of the more interesting locations. This is my go-to safe landing site. So as you guys know, the training one is my go-to. If I want to land safely, I'm going to drop on this one, which is number 48. This one is the airfield southeast entrance. This southeastern perimeter of a military base has a guard tower and a metal hut as well. But what's specific about this one, it is just so far away from the main part of military base that a lot of people just tend to forget about this place. So if you're playing duos or solos, this might be a good place to drop. If you see that military base is just full of people, you can go into the tower, go into the little hut, get yourself a couple of weapons, and from there start scouting military and try to see where players didn't land, and from there start moving yourself into military base. Now that we got all these sort of techniques, let's jump right into the drawing board and let's take a look at my general strategies, tips, and tricks with military base. Alright, we are back here in the drawing board, and let's take a look at the general strategies that I've got for you guys. So in this map, I've got located where the helicopters spawn, where there could be a truck, and the general locations where these stores will spawn. So let's go ahead and take a look at the three general strategies. We got the hot drop, we got the safe drop, and we got the medium drop. You know, when you're like, you know, I might want to get some kills, but I don't want to die immediately, but I also want some guns. That is a general strategy I got for you guys. So first off, let's talk about the hot drop location. And that is going to be the one I talked about. It's going to be this tower right here. I feel that this location and this location with the store are going to be the most hot drop locations. And let me tell you why. Not because it offers the most amount of loot, but most of the times, as you guys know, the plane will be going from here to here, or it will be going from here to here. So it almost never comes from here to here and you have to drop onto this side. That almost never happens. So because of that, this part of military base is the part that is most exposed to the landing of the airplane. That's why these are going to be the most hot drop locations, because people, when they're coming in from here, this is where people are usually going to be coming from. That means that they're not going to have, usually by this time they kind of messed up their landing, so they have to land in here. This is why these locations are going to be the most hot drop locations. Again, that is just for people, if you want to get a bunch of kills, definitely drop on those locations. So we're going to mark them with a big X, meaning these are hot drops. Now let's go into the medium one, you know, the one where you're like, all right, you know, I want to get some contracts, I want to get some kills, but I also don't want a hot drop. My go-to locations that I was talking about is this one right here, especially when it has a shop, because usually this location will also offer a contract. This location is pretty good if you can land with your full squad, because if you land with your full squad and you definitely take this place down and you cover it, you can have some pretty big advantage. Why? Because from here you can get onto the walls on this side, and you can also take control of this building in here, which once you take control of this location, you can definitely take control of a big part of military base. Also, this location is kind of like a, what's it called? Kind of like a turnaround point. So there's always a lot of people that try to go through this location to get to the other side of military base. So if you take care of this location, it is always really good. I also choose this location because it has walls surrounding on every side. So it's also a pretty good location to get yourself some cover. Now let's talk about the safest place you can land. You know, I'm going to land from here and nobody's going to touch me. Again, that is going to be this location all the way back here. Let's put an S right here so we know this is the safe location. Here, again, you can only drop if you are at duos or maybe a solo. You can drop in that little hut, which you'll get a couple guns, and then in that little watchtower. From here, you've got a couple locations. I'm going to talk to you about the general strategy plan, right? So from here, usually what I like doing is you can go on the outside, kind of like around the walls. And then from here, you start moving into the bunkers. Secure this bunker. From this bunker, you're going to go to this bunker. From this bunker, I usually don't go to that bunker. That bunker just seems a little bit far off. Once I got secured this bunker, I'm going to go through the middle. Again, take some cover with those tetrapods over there in the middle with the tetra barriers. And then from there, I usually start moving my place onto this bunker here. And then from this bunker, I start moving into here. All right. So you guys can see it's a pretty good strategy plan. From here all the way to the bottom, we managed to make ourselves all the way up here. Again, something very important that you notice is you always go through the walls. You got a bunch of barriers in here stacked up, which will also allow you for some cover. But the reason why is because military base is a pretty big open area. So if you got snipers in the hills, or if you got snipers in a bunch of locations, you don't ever want to be just running yourself like in the middle of military base. All right. It is always important to go ahead and go through the surroundings, go through the walls. And again, as you guys know, I always try to aim for building. You aim for a building, you loot it, you move. Aim for a building, you move to another cover. You loot that place, move to another one. That is the most important thing. Now let's talk about what if you want to land in another location. Let's say you didn't make it. Let's say you're one of these guys that are coming from this location and you hot drop. This is my go-to. I would honestly say that the best place to land is going to be in the tower. Usually people try to aim for buildings. Not that many people aim for the tower. And the reason being you should land a tower is because that tower, I don't know if it's true, but I think it's like a 99.9% guaranteed that you will have a chest in there. So again, my tip is land in the tower, get yourself that gun, and then get yourself on top of the tower to provide some support for your teammate. And from there, start moving on. Usually what I like to try to avoid is this location is a place that you really, really want to avoid. This is just like a no-no. Especially either if you're in this location or if you're in this location, always try to avoid this location that I marked. Why? Because this location, let me go ahead and put all this out. If you're pushing from here to these houses here, there is no cover in there. And that is just an easy peasy kill if the guy is in this house right here. He can get you easy peasy. So what I usually try to do is if I'm in this location or if I'm in this location and I'm trying to push this way, or obviously vice versa the other way, you always try to go around. So from here, I would go like this, and then that's how I'd push in this location. If I was the other way, I try to go with the rocks and go like this and push into this location. But never go from here to here directly or from here to here directly. Obviously, if you know that there's people, because really that is just going to be an easy kill. So that is it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video of the whole breakdown of military base, everything that you need to know, the shops, everything like that. As you guys can see here in the background, those are also the locations of the shops. Let me know down below in the comments, what is your strategy when it comes to military base? Peace out, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one.